All right. Hello, participants that are coming in to this Let's Talk Money panel. Welcome. This also doubles as our last Wealth Circle informational webinar before we kick off the Wealth Circle on February 7th. So just a week away. Before we get this panel party started, if you could please find your way to the chat and just tell me where you're calling in from today. I love to know where you are. Our panelists are calling in from all different places. We've got one in an island outside of Spain, one in North Carolina, one in Boise, Idaho. So where are you? SF, San Diego, New York, Atlanta, San Luis Obispo, Amsterdam, hey, Chicago, Denver, San Antonio, Brooklyn, Austin, that's where I'm located, Tampa. All right. Okay, I love to see so much representation from all over the country. Welcome, welcome. Here at Factora, we are all about creating vulnerable, judgment-free spaces for women to talk openly about their money, to ask questions that they might have thought in the past were dumb and didn't want to ask. Lean in, ask those questions. There are no dumb questions here. And really just discuss your financial experiences, because we have big financial lives, right? We have jobs that make money. We have bank accounts. We've got investment accounts. We've got financial goals. We've got bills to pay. It's a pretty dynamic financial life that we suddenly have in our adult lives and don't always know exactly how to orient ourselves in or make the best of. So that's why Factora is here, and my team is going to be in there with you answering as many questions as they can in the chat. And then we'll reserve some time at the very end to talk to our panelists and ask them any questions and answer specific questions about the Wealth Circle as well. Sorry, all my eye is watering. Okay, and just a little housekeeping before we do get started. If you want to ask a question that I answer at the end or I serve to the panelists, don't do it in the chat section. There's actually a Q&A button that you can press. Put it in there, please, so we can keep track of them. Okay, our mission here at Factora, it's simple, but it's a big one, and it is to lead 1 million women to 1 million in net worth. I am thrilled to say it's working. We have been watching women cross the millionaire net worth threshold for the last 5 years. And you're going to see how these panelists are working on it, and one's already there today. So how do we do that? Well, we teach women investment fundamentals and personal finance concepts that we weren't taught elsewhere in the Wealth Circle. So the Wealth Circle is our 12-week course and community that helps women transform their financial lives by teaching them how to strategically manage their money, start investing and doing it confidently, and in turn, give them access to achieving early financial freedom, which means no, you do not have to wait until age 65 or older to retire. That's a bullshit story we got sold. And as long as you learn how to invest and start doing it, it doesn't have to be your story. So, like I said, at the end, I will answer all of your intricate, specific Wealth Circle questions. But what I do want you to know before we get started is that we typically run the Wealth Circle twice a year. We are only running it once live in our normal cohort fashion this year because I'm family planning. And I'm very fortunate to be in a position where I've built my wealth and I don't need to teach women about wealth building, but I love to do it. And I also love to make time for my family and what's important to me. So this Wealth Circle is almost sold out and it will be closing tomorrow at midnight. So listen up and hear from these panelists. And if you decide it's the right fit for you, I can't wait to meet you next week. All right, so let's go ahead and get right into it. I want to bring up our panelists, Kelly, Annie, and Lauren. Fun fact about Lauren, she took the very first Well Circle ever and is the artist who did these paintings behind me. I bring that up because throughout the Well Circle, people ask me that nonstop. So you get to meet the artist today. All right. Hi, ladies. Thanks for coming to this panel. I wanted to do something a little differently because usually I teach women in these webinars an investment concept. But the problem with learning one investment concept is that it is not holistic or enough time in an hour to make someone feel confident enough to go open up a brokerage account or select a new robo advisor or look at their diversification and understand what that means, which is why I built the Well Circle. It takes about 12 weeks to get all that information out, and it builds on each other. And it's not just learning about this stuff, it's actually having the tools and spreadsheets and templates in the back of the course to like go gather your information and start putting this into action. So that is why I thought a better way to help people understand what the Well Circle can do is just to bring three women who've done it. And now it's a few years later. What do your financial lives look like? So let's kick it off with Kelly. If you can just tell us where you live, what you do for a living, and yeah, we'll just start with that.
Cool. Hey, everyone. My name is Kelly, and I'm currently living in Charlotte, North Carolina. I work as a product manager for a real estate technology company.
Awesome. What about you, Annie? She's muted.
Sorry, I had to find my unmute button. Yeah, hey everyone, my name is Annie Frampton. I live in Boise, Idaho, and I currently am running two food and beverage businesses. I run a food truck park, and I also run a little deli, a sandwich shop.
Awesome. Lauren?
Hi, everyone. I'm Lauren Martin, and I have an apartment in Austin, Texas, but for the past couple of months, have been splitting time out here in Spain, primarily Barcelona. And I'm the chief product officer of also a commercial real estate tech company that I started or helped start about 4 years ago. So, and then yes, I'm an artist as well.
I was gonna say, and also an artist at large. Okay,
Yeah.
so I guess I would love to know what had you guys kind of take the Well Circle, like what was your financial life looking like before, and what was your mindset that even had you wanting to do something differently in your financial life? Let's kick it off with Lauren, because Lauren actually took the very first Well Circle. So she's an OG, which is why I know her very personally.
Well, I mean, to be honest, I think I took the Well Circle mostly to help you, because you kind of forced me to take it, but also because at the time I was working at Uber, I was a marketing manager. It was honestly my first kind of first full-time W-2 job. I before that had been bartending, freelancing, just trying to throw stuff against the wall to see what stuck, and I really didn't know what I wanted to do. So that was my first kind of real paycheck, steady paycheck at the time. So back then, I had debt. I didn't have, I mean, negative net worth, and my mindset was very insecure around anything to do with personal finance. My parents taught me nothing. Obviously, as we all know, school teaches you absolutely nothing. And so really the Well Circle and Factora was my first opportunity to like share, become more vulnerable and open up about sharing numbers and be open to learning and figuring out, like, you know all these things, like you hear it, oh yeah, your 401k and this and that, right? And I started to get all those things at Uber, but I didn't know what to do with any of them. So just gaining that confidence through the circle, having that supportive group of women where you felt safe enough to start understanding what all that stuff meant, yeah, was super important for me. Are we just
I
doing?
think
where we're at?
Yeah, just where you're at. Do you
Okay.
remember what you were earning at the time at Uber and what
Ye-
your net worth was pre Well Circle?
Yeah, I think my starting salary was 62 or 63 max. I did get some equity, but it was in the form of RSUs, and obviously I was way later, so it wasn't a big substantial amount. Um, and then I mean net worth, I think it was like negative something, like negative $10,000 or something. Like I had no savings, um, credit card debt. I mean, I was definitely living paycheck to paycheck. So yeah.
So your
No.
profile looked a lot like mine before I had my financial revolution. And I think so many women do come to the Well Circle with those thoughts that you had, like, okay, I've got the 401k now, I've got RSUs, but like, what do these all mean? What do I need to be doing so that I'm being smart with these opportunities? Okay, Kelly, what about you?
Yeah, so I first heard about Factora. This was back in Austin when you guys were hosting live events. So a similar event to what we're on today, but actually in person. It was a coffee and coin event, and you were chatting with Renee, who was someone who had taken the Well Circle previously. So for the say like year before I like joined Factora and I found out about Factora, I had started to read some personal finance books and I was like starting to invest, but I did not have anyone to talk to. Like I was talking to my boyfriend at the time who could have cared less. Like he was just not interested. And I really didn't have anyone to talk to about it. And so then when I attended the Coffee and Coin event, I heard Renee's story. She has, I know she's been on a number of podcasts now, but quite like an inspirational story. And I was just there in the room with all these other like-minded women. And so I ended up signing up for the Well Circle on the spot. And it was just like very reassuring to then meet a lot of people who were like in a similar but different positions, right? Like I had like a tiny bit of personal finance foundation, but it was all just like what I had read in books. And so then to meet people and see how all these different women had like applied what their personal finance education was super interesting. And then just like getting to know Annie and I were actually in the same Well Circle. Now it's been 4 years, which is crazy.
Okay, and Annie, didn't your like finding Factora have to do with that same event? Like, didn't you see Renee
Yes.
talk?
Yes, and Kelly, I had no idea you were at that event because I was there too. But yeah, I totally joined Factora from um after going to that event. I remember I was like taking an Uber, like leaving the event, and I texted my husband. I was like, I think I'm gonna join this group like right now. Like I just love the event and I'm so inspired and I have to join. But anyway, so yeah, that's before I took the Wealth Circle, I was basically for the previous year before that, I had been just climbing the corporate ladder in like a tech sales job, and I felt like I was making pretty good money, but just constantly just felt burnt out and realized like, okay, I keep getting raises, but I'm not getting any happier. Every week feels the same. It was like I was just waiting for the weekend to come. Obsessed with weekends, spending a lot of money because, I work so hard. I thought like I deserved to spend a ton of money. Anyway, I knew I needed a change. I like quit my job and I started my own little video marketing company for probably like 6 months. And then I went back to the corporate world. But anyway, I was just in a mission to figure out how do I create wealth without being tied to some very stressful W-2. And like at that time is when I came to the Factora in-person event and just met all these women. I was inspired by the story and I just like knew I had to join to just be around this community.
And now all of you have your own inspiring stories. Kelly, did you share what your like income situation was pre-Factora or net worth?
No, yeah, but I can. So I've been a product manager. I was a product manager when I took Factora. At the time, I was making $106,000 and I had about like a 30K bonus. It was like variable. I was not married, so I had no share of finances. I did not own a home. I had about 60K net worth, and that was primarily from like the stock market investing that I had started doing like the couple years before. But it was just like I knew about one thing about index funds, and I was like, okay, I'm going to invest in an index fund, and that's really all I was doing. And I didn't have any like goals. It was just like, okay, think I should be doing this, so I was. But then, yeah, I learned so much once I actually got into the course and figured out how to like set up some goals.
Okay, and I can't wait to talk about all your goals in a minute. But Annie, did you share what you were making pre-Factora and what your net worth was?
I didn't. Before Factora, my net worth was about 545,000, and I was married at the time, so my net worth, me and my husband combined all of our finances, so that was the both of us. And I was making 125,000 at that job.
Okay, I'm just going to pause here because I hope that listeners are like, oh my gosh, these women are just willing to share numbers. And the reason I want to show you what it looks like to share numbers is because if you take the well circle, that is what you're going to do. In the very first well circle, you're going to go into a breakout room, very similar to this on Zoom, and you are going to get a group of 5 to 6 random women that are there with you who have just one thing in common, that they are taking the well circle so that they can be better stewards of their financial lives and futures. And then they are going to share all this information, which I know can sound quite daunting, but I have found it's actually really exciting. It's a bit of a cathartic experience to just be like, this is something I've never shared. Now I've shared it. It's like, it's out there, it's done. And it's an ever-changing thing, right? Because even if you look at your stock market portfolio today, it's not going to have the same value as it might a month from now if there's been a dip or a rise. So could whoever wants to just share a little bit about what it was like being in the well circle and sharing these numbers for the first time?
Yeah, I can share my experience because I have like a very vivid memory. So as I mentioned, I was making like around like 130K, let's say, including my bonus. And so I was making 6 figures, and I felt like I was like, I think there's like that like landmark, like 6 figures. I felt like I had made it, and that I had like this like very, very good salary, which I did. And then we got into this breakout room, and I was in a room with women who were sharing like 200K plus salaries. And there was a range, right? Like we had people who were under the 100K mark, and then people who were like sharing these crazy salaries. But it was like really eye-opening for me because I had never met anyone who, I say anyone, like someone my age who was like in this position where they had this opportunity to earn like so much. And so it really like opened up my eyes to like, hey, this is possible. Yes, like I was making good money, I was working hard, but like it's not the top. And if I wanted to make more, like it was really inspiring for me to see women who were in their like late 20s or 30s who were making those numbers. It didn't have to be like some 60-year-old white man or something like that. And so that was like a big mindset shift for me. And I don't want to like spoil too much, but it definitely like was inspiring for me to see women talking so openly and having these like really, really high salaries.
I love that. Yeah. I mean, what's there to spoil? I think you guys should just share your incomes now because everyone knows your incomes before and they're a lot higher now. So Kelly, what are you at today?
Yeah. So before Factora, like I said, around like 130K. Now, I am making $236,000 and like working primarily, that's for my W-2. So that's my salary. I also just did a calculation, which I thought was cool. My stock market investments are making about like $3,000 a month just in passive income. And so that is really exciting. I had not done that calculation until yesterday. But yeah, so I increased my salary by over $100,000.
I love it. What about you, Lauren? You were originally you said 62,000. How much
Yeah,
income
I was
do
at
you make
62 as a marketing manager at Uber. When was the Well Circle? 5 years ago? 4 years ago? 5? And so today I make 150 at and at in my role now, but in addition to that, I freelance consult for I do like startup consulting and then my art on the side. So that's an additional 50,000, give or take, depending on how much art I sell. And so that's over 200,000 a year
Love
between
it.
W2 and the freelance.
Okay, so Annie.
Yeah, so before Factor, like I was saying, I guess at the peak of my corporate career, I was making 160, and then I transitioned to another company. That's when I was making 125 before going into the wealth circle. And now I am making around 175 running my own business.
Which has there's a okay, so then I should also just share that when I teach the well circle, there 90% of women probably come because they want to deal with a certain problem in their financial life, or they're just feeling like they don't see how it all works together and how it's going to get them into the future. But they are looking specifically to understand stock market investing. And I think what oftentimes happens is we don't just teach about the stock market and paper asset class, but we teach about real estate and business. And then women are like, maybe I can do a little bit more focusing on one of those two asset classes, which are, depending on how much effort you want to put in, the characteristics of those asset classes can have a much higher return because you're owning hard assets. So Annie, can you talk to us a little bit about how you've created an incredible food truck park that you make $170,000 annually from, but you work, is it 6 months a year?
Yeah, so I live in Boise, Idaho, and if you're not familiar, it gets pretty cold during the winter. So the food truck park I started, basically, I really just wanted to start my own business, and I found an empty lot in a nice part of town and worked with the developer who owns it to start a food truck park concept on that piece of land. It's only open for 6 months a year, or 6 months a year because, it's outdoors. So it only makes sense to be open that amount of time. And I'm about to start my 4th season running it. And it's just grown. It's had crazy growth like each year. And yeah, I guess basically I run a bar and ice cream shop at the food truck park, and I work with all the like local food trucks in the community. They come and take turns and park at our park, and I get basically a percentage of their sales of whatever they sell at our park. So my revenue is coming from other food truck sales and then the bar and ice cream shop that I run at the park.
And what's your revenue on track for these days?
So for 2024, I'll say we finished last year, and this is including sales from the food trucks and my bar and ice cream shop. We finished at around 1.5 million. And for 2024, I'm hoping to grow at least 15%.
That's amazing. And then how much of that money do you reinvest in the business?
Quite a bit. Because it's an outdoor venue, you can imagine there's just maintenance and there's vandalism, like all the things that come with running this kind of large scale outdoor venue. So I would say every year we're investing back into the business, obviously, to just help it grow and marketing and different equipment. But I'd say like 20 to 30% back into the business.
I love that. Okay, so we have a little bit of, all three asset classes focused on here, and I'd love to talk a little bit about real estate. So Kelly, can you share more about, I know you took your wealth circle and you were like, I'm going to be a millionaire by a certain age, which, do you still have your mantra sticker in your office?
Yes, I do. So my goal is to be a millionaire by the time I'm 35. I'm 31 and I am well on my way. My net worth now is 682K. So I am, I guess, over 2/3 of the way there, which is super exciting. But yeah, to talk about a little bit about real estate. So I took the Wealth Circle again 4 years ago. So February 2020, right before COVID and everything. And my husband and I had, well, at the time, I guess we were engaged, fiance at the time, we moved to Charlotte, North Carolina. I was super eager to buy a house, but I had no clue like how to do it or where to start. So the timing of the Wealth Circle was extremely timely. I In addition to getting inspiration from like everyone with their salaries, I also got inspiration from people getting really creative about how they were investing in real estate. So we had people who were partnering with friends to buy real estate, or I learned that you could put as little as 3% down on your primary residence, which is what we ended up doing. So I took the Wealth Circle in February, and my husband and I bought our first house in August of the same year. So within 6 months, we put 3% down, what at the time was $13,000, which is just wild. There's some luck involved, obviously, like the interest rates were really good. But our house has gained about 200K in equity since we purchased it 4 years ago. So, or 3.5 years ago. So that it was very exciting for me. And it was cool just to have people to talk to be like, okay, this is possible. You can do this. It doesn't have to be that like 20% like people typically say.
We're all about taboo or like rule of thumb breaking in the Wealth Circle. And I think that's a big lightning bolt for a lot of women who are like, oh, but I can't buy a house because the houses are getting more expensive. So I still need 20%, which means the 20% of the more expensive house, like I'm always trailing behind. And we just kind of flip that narrative to say, actually, you only need 5% down on a first time primary residence, unless you find a program like Kelly, and there are plenty of programs out there, depending on where you live and like what they offer. But it's more important to understand how much it's going to cost you and what your investment strategy is. So I think you guys are planning on turning your current property into a rental at some point.
Yep. Yeah. So that's the goal for this year. We've been looking at now other primary residences, which the intention would be we would move into a new house, but keep this one as a rental. We kind of had that idea all along. So it's like in an area that we expect will be good for rental income.
And then I also know you kicked off the whole HELOC craze inside of our private Slack community. After taking a Wealth Circle, well, when you take the Wealth Circle, you get access to our private Factora Slack community, but you kind of stay focused in the Wealth Circle Slack channel. And then afterwards, you get access to all the wider Slack channels. And there's a real estate Slack channel because we have one for every asset class. And I'm at this point, I don't know how many people have probably pinged you about what you did with your HELOC. And we won't get into that too much today because I think it's a little bit like more heady of a topic than we want to discuss. But basically, that is why the community is so great, because Kelly figured out that she could get the PMI, which is an insurance that you have to have and pay an additional cost if you put under 20%. Again, you can still do it, but there's going to be a cost there associated, and that's from the financial crisis in 2008. And if you can show that your house has increased in equity, either by something you've done or by market value, you can get that amount taken off, which is really a big deal over the life of your loan. And so I think just being like in the mindset of thinking through how can you optimize finances is another way that the community really helps serve each other. And yeah, like I said, I feel like there's been a whole HELOC craze of everyone getting their mortgage amount reduced. Okay, so that's real estate, that's business. Let's go back to business. Lauren, you have been in the startup world for a long time. You've been with 3 startups now, Uber, and 2 more that you've had some equity in. I think 1 has sold and you made money from that. And then now you're investing in startups. Can you give us a little bit more information about that journey? Because another thing a lot of women don't realize when they take the Wealth Circle is what an accredited investor is, when or potentially they already are one, what that means, and how to get access to deal flow. Because a very sad statistic that I would like us to change is that only 0.05% of women invest in startups, 30% of men do. So literally go to your friend groups later after this call and say like, hey, anyone here investing in a company? And I was so surprised to try this and hear so many of my guy friends be like, yeah, I've done that. I've done that. Even if it's on crowd equity platforms, like none of my women friends had done this before. Now in the Factora bubble, a lot of them do it. But talk a little bit about your experience.
Yeah. So yeah, I didn't go the real estate investing route yet. But instead I wanted to like invest both my like sweat equity and time into businesses. And so my past partner, one of my exes, started a brokerage company. So from Uber, I started working with them, doing some marketing, and kind of operations and everything else. So that was a commercial real estate brokerage company. And that was what Allegra was referring to. So that ended up selling. And I had negotiated for equity in that. Thank you again, Factora, for giving me the confidence at the time to like negotiate my salary. And then on top of that, I negotiated for some equity in that company because at the time they were just launching it and I was one of the first employees. So that's definitely a big recommendation I have if you are working at or trying to get a job offer at a startup. Always ask for equity. It's a pretty common part of compensation packages, especially at startups, and you can always ask for more, especially if you're a founding member, putting in a lot of time and effort into helping them become successful. So we sold that, and I got some money from that. I got $50,000 from that, the sale of that. But within that company, I helped them create software and I built automations that we then kind of spun out and made its own company. So that's the tech company I'm referring to. And we started selling that to other brokerage firms. And I again, right, first asked for another raise when coming onto that company, and then asked for additional equity. We essentially rolled my equity over from one company, and then they granted me like more. And as we've like built the company, we've done it very leanly. So in the past 2 years, though, I haven't gotten like a salary raise. So I don't think I'm at market right now for the position I'm in, but instead I've been asking for additional equity. So every year I'm getting granted additional equity. But what I also have been doing is making sure that they put it on what's called an accelerated vesting schedule, so that because I know we talk about like financial profiles and just like investment profiles of people. Our co-founders are very aggressive people, and I knew they would probably want to sell the company sooner rather than later. So by putting something on an accelerated vesting schedule, if there was like a sale or an acquisition of the company, all those like shares would actually like be vested earlier, which means I would get to like exercise them when that happens, instead of kind of like if you don't use it, you lose it kind of situation. Because normally you have to earn your equity over a certain amount of time. And we're actually I can't like talk about it too much, but like within the circle, we are looking to try to sell that company this year very soon, which if it happens will be really good for me. So I'm excited.
Big payday. I love that. That's such a hot tip with the accelerated vesting schedule. Lauren's right. Now it's like so common in startups to get equity, but I do find there's a lot of women who come into Factora who don't really understand their equity, and they don't understand the tax implications and when they should exercise and when they should not. And to her point, if her company sold before she had a chance to vest all it, like just that sucks for her. She only gets what she did vest. So there's always room to negotiate different terms, and that's an awesome term. And then actually, haven't you since invested in another company?
Yeah. So from the money I made from the sale of the brokerage company, I took half of that and invested it in a female founded company called Kitsch. It's like I'm sure everyone probably owns at least one Kitsch product. If you have hair ties, hairbrushes, they're getting into kind of consumable space. So just like female beauty products. It's a woman founded company, and they never took outside investment. But recently, and because of the network I was able to build, and I spent time building over the years working at both the brokerage and the tech company, I met a ton of entrepreneurs in Austin. Again, a lot of males, but through that, I was able to get into an SPE which is a special purpose. Oh my God, now I'm gonna blank on what the E stands for. Group, it, SP, Allegra, you should know. Oh, special purpose vehicle, SPV.
Yeah, V. I'm like, it's not E.
Sorry. It's late here in Spain. I'm tired. I'm just kidding. Um, and so yeah, I was able to, like Allegra was kind of talking about, like guys are always talking to each other about deals that, you know, they have an opportunity to invest in. And this happened to be someone who's made a lot of investments in CPG brands and companies. He's created and sold multiple companies for hundreds of millions of dollars, and he just knows how to like pick them well. And so when I heard the opportunity to invest in that, and it just happened that I got this money from the sale of the company, I looked at the opportunity and got like asked for the investment deck and read it, and it sounded incredible. They're growing at an incredible rate every year. And so yeah, and I actually just got like an email that, you know, they might be doing distributions this year already for investors, and I invested the money this time last year. So that's like the time frame for a return on that's just crazy.
Yeah,
So
it's very unusual. And that's something else we talk
it's
about in the
super, and I will like, let me like caveat that with like, this deal is very unusual, but also it helped me just kind of getting into the right place at the right time. So I think part of it's luck, timing, all of it.
But being financially minded and saying, I like startups, I like going in early, I want to focus on, I mean, basically what listeners you're looking at is three women who all earn income but are investing their money in different ways. Like when we get to the business asset class, it's actually two-pronged. You can either invest in your own business, as Annie is doing. She's creating a real hard asset, like her own food truck park, and that comes with a lot of responsibility, but also a lot of flexibility. She's chosen to only run it 6 months a year. So I've had her on a podcast recently, and I know that that was important for her as a mom to be able to have more flexible schedule. And with Lauren, she's going the opposite, which is investing in someone else's business idea. She doesn't even have to do the grunt work of coming up with the idea or creating the business. She just gets to be part of the build. And then hopefully there is a payout, and she's already had one, and she's rolling it back into the business asset class because it's the strategy that she is doubling down on. And then obviously we're hearing from Kelly that her stock market investments are already making, in their compound interest phase, $3,000 a month. So I know you're going to be doing a lot more of that. And so really, I just wanted to show you like three different profiles, different investment strategies, different, but all very open financial minds to talking about money and discussing money with other people. So before we turn it over to Q&A, are there any like final things you'd want to share, either about your Wealth Circle experience or about your financial lives that I didn't get to? Because y'all gave me all the numbers, and I know we only got to share a few of them. We'll kick it off with Kelly. What do you got?
No, I think I gotta just like restate what I already said. I think that before the Wealth Circle, I was doing some stock market investing, but I hadn't explored real estate or business. And after taking the Wealth Circle, it became very clear to me of like, okay, let's like come up with a plan and let's automate these investments so that like I don't have to think about it every month. And the biggest like shift for me has been like, it's on autopilot. So I still plan to become a millionaire by the time that I'm 35. I think I'll beat that by a couple of years, hopefully. And I still plan to do all the things that I set out to do 4 years ago. But the nice thing is I don't have to think about it much. Like I have systems in place so that it's automatic, but then I also have confidence that like my money is working for me.
I love that. And also, don't you have a goal right after that?
Yeah.
What's the worth goal you want after $1 million?
Yeah, so this is a newly minted goal. I said it on the podcast, and it's still a little bit nerve-wracking for me to say out loud, but my new goal is to have a net worth of 4 million by the time I'm 40. So
I love
I
it.
have some work to do, but that's the goal.
Okay, Annie, anything you feel like you haven't shared or want to before we?
Yeah. I would just say that I think the most important thing, or what I took away from the Wealth Circle, is really just the shift in mindset in the community. I think even just today, having this conversation with you three, and like Kelly, hearing what you've been up to. Kelly and me, we're in the same Wealth Circle, by the way. And learning more about Lauren, what you're doing, it's just, I'm already motivated. And that's kind of the point. Like, when you want to talk about numbers and real estate and you have these business ideas, or you just have an idea of your own financial health, you could just call up one of your friends and maybe you have to make some small talk and like gradually figure out how you want to pose your financial question. Like with the Factora community, it's like, boom, like if I have business questions or ideas, I'm like, I'm going to go talk about this in the Slack, in Slack. And like immediately, like I don't have to beat around the bush. I don't have to like kind of ease around my question. We're just, you know, candid, going to the point. And you have so many women in there doing all these creative things, and it's inspiring. And I know that the community has like raised the bar for myself of seeing what I can do or how I can fulfill my potential. And like even one little thing, when I was working on starting my own business, there was someone else in the Wealth Circle. She was working on starting a nail salon, and I was kind of finding the people who are also starting like brick and mortar businesses. And she sent me her business plan. She applied for an SBA loan and literally sent me her Excel spreadsheet with all her numbers. Like it helped me incredibly. Like I am like grateful to her, because when I'm going through this scary journey, there's someone doing the same thing, and she literally just shared all her information with me, was like, which I use as kind of like a template for myself. So I just want to say, like, the community is such a big aspect of being in Factora.
I love that. And we didn't even get into it today, but I know you're very active on the crypto channel. We have a lot of women in there talking about Bitcoin. I know there was just a crypto meetup last week. There was an Austin in-person meetup this past weekend. We've had one in SF and New York as of late. So like, again, there's real community with just one shared common goal of building wealth in their lifetime. What about you, Lauren? Any last words of wisdom?
Parting words of wisdom. I think for me, it was the most, well, there's been a lot of impactful mindset, definitely. Just in the gaining of confidence and the security around just my personal finances and money. Especially over the last 5 years, having to work, it's a muscle, right? You have to practice, you have to work, and you have to keep at it. And that everyone's journey is so unique, right? Like you just heard, all of our stories are so different. And it can be really hard with how much content and noise and things there are. And especially like with Instagram these days, I feel like people like, I don't know. For me, it's helped knowing like I have a plan, to Kelly's point, that I created through the past, like over the like last 5 years. And even when, like for example, last year, having the freedom, like I started to feel insecure. Oh, I haven't bought real estate. I didn't invest in the market at XYZ time. All these women did. But to your point, like I was investing my time elsewhere and investing in these businesses. But beyond that, what it did do is like I just kept renting, and it's given me now the freedom to just up and be able to travel. I've spent the last 4 or 5 months traveling. I ended up meeting my partner in Spain. Like that probably wouldn't have happened if I was in a house that I felt obligated to be maintaining or living in, right, for a certain amount of time. So everyone's journey is super unique, and it gave me the confidence to know that. And even Allegra, like I'll share this because also I think there's money wins, which we share in Slack, but there's also money fails or losses. Like I've made mistakes along the way. I got into some credit card debt because of all the fun travel and my year of kind of YOLOing, which does not stress me out in the slightest because I have a plan to take care of it, and like I would have felt very anxious and insecure about it if I didn't have the Factora community and the resources around me to like quickly say, okay, identify the problem, create a plan, let's fix it.
And I love that you're sharing that. I've seen so many women in the community be like, okay, I'm on a little bit of a let's kick the debt journey. Who wants to be accountability partners? Or like Annie said, I'm starting a business. Who else is starting a business? So I can work with you. Like our whole lives have to do with money. Literally everything we do, family planning, there's money involved. Getting a different job, there's money involved. So having a group that you can talk to about anything in the peripheral of money is so comforting. And like I said, there's no dumb questions. There's just a bunch of women who've level set with their understanding of investment fundamentals and personal finance, like important foundational pieces, and then they're just working their plan. So when you graduate the Wealth Circle, you have your preferred asset class that you're working on, you have the right account structures open up, you have systems in place, and then you're just doing it, and you're coming back to the community for continued motivation and inspiration. So panelists, thank you so much for coming up and sharing your stories. I'm sure we're going to have some questions. I am going to go through a few more slides and then I'll open it up to Q&A. So, all right. Last few things here. Let's do a poll. Who on this call knows what their net worth is today? We've got little bands for you, so you don't have to know the exact number. But if you take the Wealth Circle, it's the first thing you're going to do, and you're going to get your starting net worth number because it's important. How can we know how to grow it if we don't measure where we're at today? So get those numbers in. Don't worry, it's confidential. All right, about 43% of you, less than 100K, about 2/3 of this audience, less than $250,000. We got to get way more millionaires in this room, and we plan to. All right, and then last poll for you. How would you rate your confidence making investment decisions today? So meaning, do you understand if you have investment accounts, what makes up your current portfolio and how to make changes if needed? If so, and you feel very confident, put a 5. If not so much, 1 is the not so confident. What do we got? What do we got? All right. Majority of this audience is in the not so confident. And I want to change that for all women, because listen to these women being like, this is my profile. This is my focus. This is where I'm going. And that is important and unique. I always joke, if I had like a dime go into my investment account every time I said personal finance is just that, personal, there is no recipe of hers to follow, because your age, your expenses, your lifestyle, your choices are all different. So you have to do what's right for you. I would have even more money. All right. So just to talk about the Wealth Circle, this is Factora's financial framework. We go through all of this in the Wealth Circle, but we really focus on the growth piece, because that is how we change our net worth and build wealth in our lifetime. So you have to have the foundation. You have to get clear on where your money goes and how to mitigate debt. But then after we do that, we're going to look at security, making sure we have cash at the ready in emergency funds and those near-term goals working. And then it's all about the investing, whether it's in the stock market, whether it's in real estate, whether it's in business. There is so much in all 3 of those asset classes to explore. So I'm running out of time and I want to get to questions, but the Wealth Circle is very comprehensive and it will teach you all this. This is what the back end little cute portal looks like. Our curriculum, you can go read it on the website, but it's 6 sessions. We lay the investment foundation, then we do stock market, asset selection, real estate, business investing, and then we wrap it all up with accountability. You get accountabilities partners during the Wealth Circle, because our secret sauce is the community. Anyone can go and read investopedia.com at night. That's how I learned how to start stock market investing. It was really boring and sad, and I was frozen for about a year before I actually did it and like opened up my first brokerage account. And you don't have to wait. It's so simple. It's meant to be complex. We make sure that everything inside the Wealth Circle is designed for women, by women, to be bite-sized, chewable. And then we go talk about it in the community, both in these breakout rooms, face-to-face like this, and 24/7 on Slack. Okay, community matters. You just saw why. The price of the Wealth Circle, it's $1,800 if you buy in one installment, or we have a payment plan if you want to pay over 5 months. And you get lifetime access to this community. These women are in it 4 and 5 years later. So average net worth increase, $34,000 in 6 months, but these women have made hundreds of thousands of dollar gains in the last few years, which is freaking amazing. So who's coming with us? Who's ready to build $1 million net worth? as soon as possible. So get those answers in. Oh, good. It's everybody. Literally no one said no thanks. My favorite audience. Okay, so if you want to join, it's the last day to do it. You can join the spring cohort, and let's get to questions. Okay, we have a ton, and I want to just see if there are any for our panelists before I let them go. Okay, well circle question, well circle question. Oh, this is all about the well circle. Y'all are free to go, or you can help me answer questions if you want. Okay, so the first question is, I'm interested in learning how to invest in my own business. I'd like to grow it, but find I'm at capacity and need to hire, but I'm afraid to do so. Girl, me too. I have grown Factora from being a solo entrepreneur to a big business. And now we've even taken a step back and we are only 2 full-time with a bunch of contractors. It is a long journey. Maybe Annie, have you hired a full-time employee before?
I have actually. So I didn't really talk about it, but I also own a sandwich shop, and that is year round. So I actually have 2 full-time employees, and then when the food truck park's open, I actually have like up to 20 employees, but they're seasonal. Um, I would just, how I would respond to that is just like, I know that it's scary to hire people, but what is your business going to do if you don't? Like sometimes you need to invest in someone to help you. And not only are they doing the tasks that you need them to help you with, it's freeing up your mind to give you more time to create more opportunities for your business. So, I don't know this person's situation, but there's different cycles of your business, and sometimes you need to know when to be lean, and you need to know when to kind of take a leap of faith and invest in your business and give yourself time to grow your business.
Yeah, if you don't have capacity, but you do have capital, I have always erred on the get more human resource to help infuse this business. Because Factora has only grown because it's not just my brain. It's so many different women who've come into this company. And then someone else actually asked Annie, what is the name of your food truck park? I'd love to check it out.
Yeah, it's called Green Acres. So Green Acres Food Truck Park in Boise, Idaho. I would love to meet, if anyone lives in the area or just comes and visit, contact me, DM me. I'd be happy to meet up and show you around.
Amazing. Someone was asking if they have credit card debt, if the Well Circle is a fit for them. I don't know. Lauren, would you want to tackle that question?
I just responded to it and said yes.
Do you have any more to elaborate on why?
I believe so. I think if you're interested in better managing your personal finances, I think the Well Circle is for you, right? And gaining resources and support around that. And I think essentially credit card, like I just said that, like I'm in some credit card debt right now, and I'm going to lean on the Factora network and lean on the things I've learned from it. And again, lesser even around just like the execution part of it, but the mindset, right? In years, like 5 years ago, this would have caused me so much deep anxiety and shame and guilt and all the things, which yes, there is some shame and guilt today around it. Like, oh damn, I shouldn't have probably done that 3rd trip to Europe on the Amex, whatever. But now I'm just okay, I'm going to deal with it and I can move past it and go on with my day. It's not this all consuming thing anymore. So I think again, gaining that confidence through doing the course and the support with the other one around you. Yes.
I love it. These questions are disappearing. Someone asked, how much financial literacy and personal finance management experience do we need to have before taking the course, if any? None. That's literally why we built it. Because I think that, as I said in the beginning, we suddenly have these financial lives that are pretty dynamic. It's a lot of accounts. It's a lot of things we're managing, right? We might work for a company that has equity or retirement accounts that they offer us with a match or not. And that's all, or HSAs, that's all nice. But there's also a bunch of things that we can get personally outside of those. And then there's the normal things we're going to have, like a bank account, savings account, credit cards. And then we have lifestyle expenses we've signed up for, right? Are you paying a mortgage? Do you have a car? We got bills. And so basically, I think it's a really unfortunate scenario that America does not have any sort of personal finance education required in schools. And I also think it's really hard when you already have all those things, how to back up and see everything holistically and how it works together. So that is literally why we tried to build a very clear path to becoming a great steward of your money. So you do not need to have any advanced knowledge to take this course. It's not a 201. You can come right on in. And then someone asked, would this course be beneficial if I'm not interested in real estate startup investing, but more so interested in managing assets I currently have? I'm freelancing, so don't have a steady income, or don't have a steady income state that I can automatically invest with. Yes, absolutely. Like I said, majority of women come just for the stock market, and a lot of times they find it really interesting to learn about the other asset classes. So I think the best profile for the Wealth Circle is just needing two things: a growth mindset, be willing to hear like new concepts that you don't know and being receptive to them, and a willingness to actually do the work. It is 12 weeks. There are sessions to show up for, there are videos to watch, there are spreadsheets to do. But if you do those things in 3 months, which is a very short time of your life, you are going to be able to put a lot of things in place that are going to be there, and you can build from that for the rest of your life. So I always say, like, wealth building is a lifetime. It's like it's the life marathon. As long as we're living, we have the ability to be smart with our money. So why not learn about how to do that today so that we can have a better tomorrow? That sounds so cheesy, but I really believe that. Okay. Let's see. If I want to put money away for my kid, do you recommend high yield savings account, invest money, and or 529 account? Which one should I prioritize? Okay, I love a question like this, because what the Wealth Circle is going to help you do is figure out the answer to that question yourself. Too many people want to get someone else to figure out what to prioritize in their financial life. And while there's a time and a place for needing a financial advisor to help you with different strategies, everyone can figure out what their financial goals are. And that's what we do in the Wealth Circle. So come on in. You're going to figure out, based on your current financial needs and your future financial goals, which one you should do for your kid. It's going to be different for everyone. Okay, we are at time, and I want to be respectful of everyone's time. So if there are any questions we didn't get to, feel free to email us, info@factorawealth.com, or talk to us on Instagram. Otherwise, I hope to see you in the spring Wealth Circle. It's the only one I'm running live this year. And come on in to the private Slack community where you can meet all these incredible women you just heard from today. Thank you, panelists, so much for spending an hour talking about your monies, talking about your mindset, and talking about your wealth.